Hi guys and welcome to Business Studies. Today it's a Thursday and the format has changed, so if you are confused, today's the first business study and I've got Tanya with me. How are you today?
I'm very good. I'm very excited.
I'm so excited. This is an amazing day and today we're going over local business. What is this all about? Tell us.
Basically, we're looking at strategies. We're going to look at corporate social investment. A bit of a mix. I'm going to surprise you, though. I'm not going to give too much away.
See, guys, I personally get very excited about this kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be an awesome show. I can't wait. Okay, take a spot by the board, and then I'll send it over to you once I've done my little talk.
Okay.
Hopefully it won't take too long. Guys, you need to join us on facebook.com/learn extra. We are going over grade 12 business studies. If you don't do business studies, perhaps it's a nice show for you guys to even tune in and learn a thing or two about the world of business. And for those entrepreneurs out there, it might be very useful to you. Also join us on @learnextra for Twitter. We've also got on our website, which is, get your pens and papers, are you ready? Okay, www.mindset.co.za/learn/extra/live. What you're going to get there is our complete schedule. We also have our show notes, which are up. You can click and download and follow along with the show. It's very important. Please help me out there. And quickly, I just want to say, we are looking for content. So if you guys know teachers that can send us content, it's content@mindset.co.za. It would be so appreciated. And I will post all of this onto our Facebook page. Big up to Macmillan. You guys rock. Thank you so much for proudly sponsoring this show. We think it is amazing. And I think let's get straight to business studies. Tanya, take it away.
Great stuff. So today what we're looking at, we're going to revise some of the strategies in responses to the challenges in the business environment. Remember all those things you've just learned about the macro, market, micro, and all the challenges. Then we're going to analyze some of those strategies, and then we're going to go into corporate social investment, specifically in South Africa. And lastly, we're going to look at some questions, an exam question, and just get you ready for the exams or cycle tests, all those things coming up. So let's start with, what is a strategy? Okay, now a strategy is basically a plan of action to get to a goal. Now, in the business world, that would be a roadmap to development of your business or where you want your business to go. Now, if you have in mind where you want to go, obviously it makes things easier. Now, these strategies that we're going to be looking at now sort of give you that they're the roadmap, and there's different types. So let's start at looking at formulation of strategies. Let's go. So, formulation of strategies. So the first thing would be scanning the environment leading up to a SWOT analysis. Now, when you scan the environment, you're going to read newspapers, journals, network, just get out there and find out what's happening, and then go into your SWOT analysis. Now, remember your SWOT analysis, 4 parts: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, Indiana, those are very different in that strengths and weaknesses are internal, and opportunities and threats would be external. The next part, let's have a look. The next part would be strategy planning. I've lost my pen there. Strategy planning. And this will basically be the what. Okay, so what strategy are you going with? What are you planning to do? The third part, the strategy implementation or strategic implementation, is going to look at the how. How are we going to take this plan and put it into action? So let's add that in. This is how. And lastly would be evaluation and control. Now remember, you've got an issue. An example would be in the micro environment where you have difficult employees. Now, what you're going to do is look at a strategy. How am I going to fix this? Well, actually, firstly, you're going to go, what is trying to find a way to help those employees? Or, help them. A second way, how are we going to implement? And the fourth one, which is, quickly check, evaluation and control. So you've put this plan in place. Now you need to make sure that this plan is working. So you're going to go back, see if anything needs to be tweaked. If not, go with it, or even try to improve it. What I want to look at now would be different types of strategies. So the first type, let's jump here, would be integration strategies. Now these strategies are utilized in businesses when there's an alliance, merger, or takeover. Now remember, those 3 things you learned in grade 11, and you need to remember it now. So if you don't remember it, go brush up from last year. So with an integration strategy, there are three things. So let's look at that quickly. So first one is a horizontal integration. Now this is basically when a business takes over another business in the same field. An example of that would be two cell phone companies, one cell phone company taking over another cell phone company. So the horizontal means they're in the same line. Where would this be suitable? This is when acquiring competitors to reduce the threat, or acquiring them so that substitutes for the business, so you have substitutes that you can use in the business. And lastly, dealing with complementary products. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Just remember, horizontal integration looks at two businesses, same field, getting together. Another one, part of the integration strategies would be a backward integration. Now, backward integration is a vertical integration. So remember, the first one was horizontal. Now we're looking at vertical. And you can sort of figure this out for yourself. So this one would be when it's businesses not necessarily in the same field, okay, but they will complement each other. The example they've got here, if a dairy combines or buys out a milk farm to reduce the risk associated with supply and the price of milk. Now think about this logically. If you're a dairy, it makes sense getting hold of the actual farm and having that in control. The next part to this would be a vertical integration, which I've already mentioned. These all fall together. Now, this involves an enterprise taking control over either the suppliers or distributors, and this integration can either be forward or backward. Now, the last one here, part of this section, would be a forward integration. Now, this is where the business amalgamates or combines with distributors so as to gain control over direct distribution. Now, this would be when a cattle farmer sets up their own butchery. Now, remember, the first one was where a dairy, so that was a backward integration. That's where a dairy bought out a farm, so a dairy bought a farm with cows and stuff where they make milk. Where a forward integration would be where the person now who has the cattle farmer takes a step forward and he opens his own butchery. So remember the difference between a backward and a forward. Quickly want to look at another example for you guys. Remember, we're still looking at types of strategies. Intensive strategies. I find these ones most interesting, purely based on, I don't know, I like them. So intensive strategies are aimed at increasing sales and the market share by using available resources. Now remember, with these available resources would include your financial resources, human resources, information resources, and information, human, physical, using all of those existing things and making it work for you. So the first type of intensive would be market penetration. Now with market penetration, it's a growth strategy where the business focuses on selling existing products into an existing market. Now the following method can be used to penetrate a market, and it will lead in decrease in prices, increase of marketing, etc. So an existing product into an existing market. So you've got a business, you already sell a soft drink. Now you're trying to increase the amount of soft drinks that people buy already from you. The second type of intensive strategy would be market development. Now, market development is a growth strategy where the business aims to sell existing products into a new market. Now, the following method, you can read through that. So you're trying to sell an existing product into a new market. So you still produce soft drinks, but now you want to try and market or try and get people to actually buy bottled water to buy your soft drink. So it's the same product, new market kind of thing. The third type would be product development. Now, product development is a growth strategy where the business aims to introduce new products into an existing market. Now, new products into an existing market. So you already sell soft drinks to the people in your market. Now you want to try and diversify and you want to sell a sugar-free soft drink to that market. Now you need to convince your market that they want to buy your soft drink and your new product. So those are the three that go with intensive. Let's go to another strategy. This strategy is diversification. Now, diversification is a strategy where the business markets new products in new markets. It's used to increase the sales and to ensure that there is a growth in the business. Now, this strategy has a high risk. I'll explain that. And because the business finds itself in an unknown territory. Now, the following are diversification strategies. I'll quickly go back. Now, again, I'm going to use the soft drink example. So you want to sell soft drinks to a completely new market. This is a market where people don't buy any cold drink, for example. So it's risky because you don't know how they're going to react. So first one, yeah, you get concentric diversification. Concentric diversification is a growth strategy where the business adds new products or services which are related to an existing product. And a nice example they've got here, it's the introduction of a DVD player which can record on its hard drive. So now remember, it's a new product added to an existing product. So yeah, so a new product or new feature on an existing product. So that's diversification. The second one with this would be a horizontal diversification. Now, horizontal diversification looks at a growth strategy where the business adds new products or services that are unrelated to the existing product. And the example here would be ladies' clothing boutique introducing jewelry. So it's a new product, so they've used jewelry and clothing. So you've already got your clothing shop. You want to expand business, maybe make a bit more profit. Instead of adding more clothing or a different brand, you now add shoes, jewelry, something different to get that market to buy more. The third strategy would be conglomerate diversification. Now, this is a growth strategy where the business adds new products or services that are unrelated to existing products, but which may appeal to new groups of people. Now, an example, if a mining corporate starts diversifying into other unrelated lines, such as property, finance, insurance. So with conglomerate, remember, we're looking at new products in unrelated or existing products. I'm going quite fast. You guys should know this. I should remind you, freshen you up, so when we get to questions, look at things, you know exactly what's happening. Now, I want to look at one more strategy quickly. This strategy is defensive. Now, defensive strategies, as the name will give it away, would be about businesses battling. They could be in financial trouble. There could be a general economic crisis, for example, which will put them under pressure. Now, businesses only go to defensive if they really have to. Let's have a look. So defensive, these strategies are usually resorted to when the business is under severe pressure with very few options. Now, these severe pressure would generally be financial. So the first defensive strategy would be retrenchments. And this is aimed at decreasing the costs by decreasing the number of posts. And the number of posts, in other words, the number of people. It could be the number of products, or it could even be closing certain departments. Now, all of these things I want you to remember could also be linked to unemployment. As soon as you start retrenching people, they lose their jobs, and that will again also affect socioeconomic issues. Keep that in mind. The second would be, it usually results, or the second point, it usually results in a loss of skills and markets for the business. Another defensive strategy would be divestiture. Now, this is when a business sells certain parts of the business that is no longer profitable, or it sells assets which are not productive. An asset that's not productive would be you've got a delivery truck in the back that you use every so often, but it's actually not adding to your business. So it's not helping you make a profit. It's dead weight. It makes sense getting rid of it. Now with this, guys, don't get confused with liquidation. Liquidation is when you're selling off because you're closing the business off. With retrenchments, you're simply getting rid of things to have more available cash flow. Now, it could also involve a company which sells ownership by decreasing the number of shares. The last point here, liquidation, as I mentioned earlier, looks at selling the assets of the business so as to raise cash to pay off debtors and to pay off its employees and basically to close off the business. Now, during liquidation, assets are usually sold for much less then it's book value, which means that the business will lose out. But now, remember, liquidation, we're looking at the business it's at the end of the road. So they're selling everything off so they can pay people they owe money to, they can pay their employees, and basically finish everything up so that the business can close. Those were the strategies I wanted to have a look at. I'm going to hand over to Indiana.
I'm going to take a little break. Okay, guys, I hope that you're all enjoying business studies. I know that you all are, and there are a few questions coming through. But if there is anything that Tanya's going over, please post it onto our page. If there's anything you don't understand, post it onto our page, facebook.com/learnextra. We are also on Twitter, and keep your eyes peeled to the page. We will be posting those top 15 names of from our presenters search, the auditions. And see you now after the break. Hi guys, and welcome back to Business Studies. This is the first of its kind, so the page is a bit quiet, but I'm relying on all of you grade 12 mindsetters who are there, who are watching, there on your couch, wherever you're watching 319. Please tell all of the matrix you know that there is a brand new show on 319 on Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. and it is Business Studies. So you really, really need to tell everyone you know. Okay, and I think there's no questions here on the page, so that means that you guys are all understanding. If you do have any, please post them. And I think without further ado, I'm going to send it straight to Tanya. Tanya, take it away.
Thanks. Please, guys, if you've got a question, send it through. We can have a look at it and maybe just create some clarity on things. Before the break, we started looking at strategies, and we're just looking at, literally, it's called other strategies. So it's a bunch of strategies that don't necessarily fall under a specific heading, but you still need to know them. The first one, let's have a look, is replacing individuals. Now, what does this involve? This involves employing the best employees. So employing the best employees will help a business enterprise achieve its objectives. Now remember, objectives form part of your microenvironment, mission, vision, all those things. So you want to choose the best people for your business working towards your goal. Now, employees need to be replaced when? So eventually people do come and go, things happen. When do we need to replace them? So the first one is when people do not fit into the business. Now, this could be you as an individual in the business, you don't like the environment, or it could just be that there's a clash. It's just not working. The second reason we have, you're unable to cope. So there's actually just too much work and you're not doing the best you can. And remember, when workers aren't working, they're not being effective, they're not being productive, it's costing the business money. Another reason people get replaced, they resign or they retire. And lastly, somebody being promoted. Now, promotion, remember, as soon as one person, if you get promoted in a job, that leaves your position open. So somebody else needs to come in from the bottom and fill that up. So that is pretty much replacing employees. Let's go to the next one. The next one looks at revising a business's mission or just the business's mission. So what is this about? So as the business expands, it will be necessary to revise the mission statement as well as to adapt to challenges in the business environment. So when a business starts, it's fresh, it might not be as big, you're going to put together your mission, your vision, all those important things. And as the business grows, you need to change those things to keep up with what's happening in the company. Another reason, or another strategy, would be establishing or revising objectives. This will pretty much go with revising the mission statement. These go hand in hand. Another one, devising new policies. So as your business expands, once again, laws change. Remember, legislation, very big in grade 12. As laws, legislations, all these things change, your business needs to keep up with it. Another one, you could issue stocks to raise capital. This would be when a company mainly issues stocks or shares to raise capital in order to expand. Later on in the year, when you guys do investments, things like that, you do stocks in a lot more detail. Right now, at this point, knowing this should be enough for you. Let's do the next one, adding additional sales staff. So this is literally a business can employ additional sales staff in an effort to increase sales. So think about it, when you go into a shop, there's a friendly lady, smiles at you, you sort of just look at something, and they're like, oh, isn't that nice, have a look at it. So having additional staff should increase your sales because people feel more inclined to buy something. If you, a little bit of harassment, I suppose, but it gets people to buy. And second last, allocating resources differently. So you're going to allocate resources differently. And again, remember, Remember, resources are physical, financial, human, all of those things. When we say resources, think of those 4 things should come up immediately. Now, the last strategy that can help, or that we're looking at, would be developing new performance incentives. So performance incentives can be a strategy to expand the business. Now, that's a lot of, we just did a lot of strategies in a very, very short time. These strategies are important. Remember essays, things like that. Maybe in another show, I'm going to do an essay with you, just to like freshen you up on how this thing, how it works. But please don't forget strategies. And also don't forget that strategies are responses to challenges faced in the micro market and macro. Now, when I introduced the show, I also said that we're going to be looking at corporate social investment. You should also know that this goes hand in hand with corporate social responsibility. But before I jump ahead of myself, let's just go look at the definition, and we'll chat about that a little bit. So what is corporate social investment? Just break it down. Corporate social investment. Social investment. This is literally businesses giving back to the community, giving back in the sense of looking after conservation, for example, is another reason or another way they can do this. So corporate social investment. Keep the word investment in mind. Now the definition says this is money that the business spends on the community to improve the standard of living of that community. So corporate social investment is literally the money business spends on community, on housing, on healthcare, HIV, unemployment, and I also almost forgot, it looks at conservation and making sure you look after nature, but also making sure that your company itself doesn't pollute. So it actually goes 2 ways. Now, what is also another good thing that goes with this? The aim of corporate social investment is to contribute to sustainable economic development. And the key word here would be sustainable. With sustainability, remember it means I'll teach you a skill now, and you can use that skill continuously. I was thinking this afternoon, a nice way to explain this. With corporate social investment, you want to teach people skills, for example. Now, that would be the don't give a man a fish, teach him how to fish kind of principle. And that's corporate social investment. What I did tell you as well, though, was we're going to look at corporate social responsibility. And a little abbreviation for that would be CSR. Okay, and remember, CSR goes hand in hand with CSI. Now, as I said earlier, CSI, corporate social investment, is the physical money that businesses spend on education, healthcare, etc. Now, CSR, the corporate social responsibility, is the obligation of management to look after society as well as looking after their profits. So management needs to go out there, they need to go help the community, all those things, but they need to keep in mind that they need to keep their business objectives and mission in mind when doing this. Now, I've got some questions we can briefly look at that go with corporate social investment and responsibility. Find the slide. So this is a question I found from the 2010 final exam, November exam. And what they did was that section looked at what is CSR, what is corporate social responsibility, investments. There was a case study, if I'm not mistaken. Do yourself a favor, work through those previous papers. They'll help you with the language of the paper, and they'll also help you to figure out what do I do with the mark breakdown. Because a lot of the time, you look at this question, you go, oh my gosh, I don't know how much I need to write. So it's actually just get into it and have a look. So, like I said, this is from the November 2010 final. And the question was, corporate social investment, so CSI, has benefits or advantages as well as challenges for corporate business. So this question is literally asking, it's a nice clear question. The question is, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages of corporate social investment for business? Now this section, after we've answered, I might touch on it slightly, but this section also looks at what are the advantages and disadvantages of CSI for the community. Like I said, but I'll get back to that one if there's some time. So the first part of this question said, name 2 benefits of corporate social investment for business. Make the screen bigger, let's get into this. So benefits, just another nice way of saying, what are the advantages of corporate social investment? Now, if you think about it logically, off the top of your head, if I had to say, what are the benefits? I'm sure you can come up with quite a few. And the nice thing with this section is, if you think about it, you can actually logically work through it. So the first benefit of CSI for business is that actually, honestly, simply, it's good public relations. If a company goes out there, they help, they often will be recognized purely based on the fact that they go out there, they help, people speak about it. Did you see what that business just did for the community? And it's also a nice word of mouth thing. So the very first advantage of CSI would be it has, well, it simply just improves the image.
Creates positivity.
It does. It gives hope. You know, and I think that hope, there's no price on hope. And that's a very nice thing that business can do. Another benefit for business, and this is a little bit colder, I would suppose, would be it's got tax benefits. So when a company does invest in social responsibility, they either get tax deductions or tax rebates. Deduction, they pay less tax, and a rebate would be after they've paid tax, they might receive some money back. And you can imagine in the business world, every bit you save or bit you get back, you can reinvest and really do something amazing with it. So the second advantage I've got here would be tax advantages. So second advantage would be tax reductions or tax rebates. Now, before I do actually, I'm going to do the third one anyway, and then I'm going to quickly tell you why you need to be careful. The third one, you can also think of corporate social investment is going to assist, obviously, in all the socioeconomic issues. Off the top of your head, quickly think, how many socioeconomic issues are there? There's crime, there's poverty, lack of education, actually, and all those things. So what happens would be that business help alleviate socioeconomic issues like poverty, for example. Or you can write lack of education, things like that. So let's quickly write that one down. So what they're doing, it creates or it assists with solving socio-economic issues. And I'm just going to throw in here like poverty. Now, as I went through that, you were probably sitting and going, oh, I know that. And again, do you see how this is logic, but you can't skip studying? Logic will never trump your studying. So try and keep both in hand. Well, they go hand in hand. I want to quickly go back to the question. So I want to show you, I didn't put it in here, but this question looked like this. 4 marks, if I'm not mistaken. Now in business, 4 marks should be 2 times 2. 2 points, 2 marks per point. So when you're planning, you want to make sure that you write at least 2 points. If there's a little bit of time left, you can always go back, add it in, but to be safe, write your 2 points first because you need to save your time for your essays. Let's go to the disadvantages now. Remember, that was the second part of the question. The question was, name 2 challenges or disadvantages of corporate social investment for business. Now, just as it was quite easy to think of advantages, you can also think of disadvantages. Now, I'm going to quickly leave you to think of that for about 2 seconds while I hand you over to Indiana.
Okay, guys, it is time for a break. I can't believe it, how fast the lesson is flying. Let us know on our Facebook page how you feel our first business studies lesson of the year is going. I think it's awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. I think it's time, if you've been sitting for a long time, to jump up and down and get that energy going. See you now after the break. Hi guys, and welcome back. I can't believe how fast this lesson has gone, and I wish we could have 2 hours of it, but unfortunately it finishes at 7. this is business studies. It's the first time we are having business studies this year, and you guys have asked for it just like you did for accounting, so this is what we have given to you. So please tell all of the matrics to tune in every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. We are here for them, and we have got a few questions on the page. Tanya, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's have a look here. So this one's from Dimfor, and he asks, sorry lady, she asks, is CSI and social responsibilities the same?
Okay, that's a very good question. They form part of the same thing. They're not the same thing. So CSR, remember, corporate social responsibility is the responsibility of business. They haven't actually spent the money on it yet. When it gets to CSI, which is the investment part, that's when they spend the money. So CSI follows CSR. Hope that helps.
Fantastic. No, I'm sure it will. Okay, we've got Jessica. Jessica asks, does corporate social investment have an impact on the public relations of the business, and how?
Okay, it will definitely have, it will affect it. It's public relations, PR. So if a business is doing something good for the community or conservation, the name's getting out there. So people are hearing the business's name and they're becoming aware of it. So yes, it definitely plays a part.
Fantastic. And Andile wants to know who is responsible for strategy planning.
Strategy planning, remember, if you think right to the beginning, strategy planning is a response to challenges in the business environment. So that could be the micro market or macro. So things happen in those environments and the business has to plan. And it's basically the strategies for planning.
So every business should actually have a strategist and a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, how are you going to make anything happening? You don't have a business. If you don't have a plan, you don't have a business. Exactly. Okay, let's have a look here. I can't find any more questions, but I do want to read this out from Caroline quickly. She says, remember there have been thousands of pupils just like you that have succeeded in matriculating, so do not doubt yourself, you can do it, and good luck to all of the matrics of 2013. And I think that's very important. Guys, matrics of 2013, let's start this now. If we start early in the year in January, you're going to have plain sailing in December. November. What am I talking about? See, I'm already on holidays.
That's cool. That's very good advice, guys. Start now. So when it gets to prelims, it's not no sleepless nights, no stressing out. Okay, well, a little bit of stress, but not as much.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Okay.
So before the break, I'm going to carry on. Is that okay? I sort of butted in
No,
there.
it's good. No, good.
Okay, so we looked at the advantages of corporate social investment. And then I said, you have to think about a little bit before I get back to you, which is now, into the disadvantages. So let's jump right in. What are the disadvantages of corporate social investment? The first disadvantage would be, think about it. If there's an economic downturn, which has happened recently, businesses literally aren't making enough profit. So they can't keep up with the amount of money they've spent. So the first issue or the first challenge would be that businesses could have trouble during an economic downscale to keep up with investment. Let's quickly write that down. So the first disadvantage would be, you're going to have to give me a moment. I have lost my pen. Indiana, do you have my pen?
I have your pen! I'm sorry.
Thank you. So let's go to the disadvantages. So the first disadvantage is, it could be problematic during economic downturn. The second disadvantage could be that businesses, I just forgot, sorry. Businesses could actually spend that money in a different way. So if you're going to invest 100,000 Rand in corporate social investment, that money it's basically an expense. Yes, it's an expense, but you're giving back to the community. You're helping education, healthcare, all those things. But that same 100,000 Rand could have been invested and turned into 500,000 Rand, which is a profit for the business. So that could also be a challenge, looking at where do I want to go, how much profits do I want to make, and how much do I actually want to give back. So let's write that down. So the second challenge would be, it's money. So let's just go with money that could have been invested differently. I'm just going to abbreviate that. All of you keep track. Diff actually meant differently in this case. The third one, the business could actually have a person or people that are in control of the CSI or CSR that aren't skilled at it. So it's not their actual job. So these people are put in a position to look at places to help children's homes, things like that, and they don't have the knowledge to actually do this properly. So the third challenge could be not having employees or having employees with lack of knowledge on this issue. So let's get this down. So the third one, so businesses may lack personnel and I just want to actually add in here quickly, lack skilled personnel, okay, to do the job. Now those three things, again guys, the mark breakdown, if you remember I showed you, this was originally 4 and 4. So remember 2 points each. If you're feeling brave, come back to it later, but don't write everything down that you know, because you're not going to get 12 marks for something that's worth 4. Now, I want to do something different. This was the exam section. We're being sponsored
by Macmillan.
Yes.
Yeah, guys, Macmillan sponsoring content. So everything you're seeing, the show notes, they have made it all possible. So big up to you guys. And thank you so much for making the show possible.
Yeah, so what I want to do, if you've got your textbook at home, you can actually follow me on this activity, and we can have a look through it. And I also actually want to teach you how to read a case study, because a lot of you look at the case study and go, oh, it's too much.
Oh, that's scary. That's very scary. Too much writing.
Yeah, so let's do this together. We're going to look at a case study, and I'm going to teach you how to break it apart and answer questions properly. So if you've got your textbook, follow me.
And this is the Macmillan Business Studies textbook.
Macmillan, sorry.
The Macmillan Business Studies textbook.
Textbook, grade 12. And if you follow me, if you go to page 11, yes, page 11 in your textbook, and it's activity 2. So quickly find page 11, activity 2. Let's have a look. If you want to, grab a pen, pencil, highlighter, and underline with me so you can see what's happening. So Sharon was recently retrenched from a South African clothing factory. So actually, follow me, grab your pen. I'm just going to underline as I go. So Sharon was recently retrenched from a clothing factory where she had been employed as a fashion designer for 10 years. Now she wants to start her own small business and open up a boutique in Durban Central Business District, or the CBD. She also plans to export her designs overseas, and then she asks a friend for advice because she is worried that many businesses have relocated from the CBD, and there seems to be high rates of unemployment and crime. Now, her friend advised her to open her shop in Umhlanga, and which is an affluent mixed residential and business area, only about 20 minutes away from Durban. Now, Umhlanga also offers good opportunities for growth, and the crime rate there is lower than in the CBD. However, the rental on her shop will now be much higher. Sharon and her new business are affected by different macro environment factors. Her retrenchment was a direct result of economic and global factors. Now, the high rate of unemployment, so let's go there, unemployment, and I've lost myself. So the high rate of unemployment and high interest rates are economic factors. Now, the depopulation of the CBD are socio-economic factors, and the high crime rate is a factor, so high crime rate is a factor of the social environment. Now, if Sharon is successful and exports her clothes to another country, the international or global factor of the macro environment will also influence her business. Good grief. There's a lot of information there, guys. They touch macro, market, micro. So you need to make sure that when you read those factors, that you know automatically, okay, this is a macro environment issue, this is a market environment issue. So we've read through it, you've highlighted. Let's tackle some of those questions. The very first question is, I promise to find it very soon. So the very first question there, what do you think are the possible reasons that Sharon was retrenched from the clothing factory? Now, can you see the link between global, economic, and social factors. So 3 big things happening here, guys, and I want to break it down for you. So what is the question asking you? What do you think are the possible reasons she got retrenched? So this is the first part of the question, guys. And really, the possible reason, if you read through it, it could just simply be, guys, that the factory isn't making enough profit and they need to let go. Remember the strategies we just looked at? One of them was retrenchment. So they were following a strategy, okay, to try and save their business. So the first one you can write down there, the factory simply was no longer profitable. So the factory was no longer profitable. A second reason could be competition internationally and locally. So the factory she was working in had to A, compete against other South African brands, other South African clothing companies, and on an even bigger scale, they have to compete internationally. Now, when the next section, we're going to be looking at labor laws, things like that. But the Far East has very different labor laws, and it's a lot cheaper to make things. So for South African companies to compete against imports becomes very difficult. So second reason you can throw in there would be international and local competition. I'm just going to write competition. And before I hand over to Indiana, I want you to think of this one. What social and economic factors face Sharon if she sets up a shop in Durban CBD and if she sets up in Umhlanga? Remember, CBD, we've got crime, we've got unemployment, things like that. Umhlanga, less crime, but higher prices. So you think about that.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a short little break, and then we're going to be moving into our last section. So please post pictures. You can post pictures too, but post any questions that may be burning onto our Facebook wall. That's facebook.com/learnextra. I have to do a little call for content developers, people that develop content. We need you to send us content, and this needs to be done through content@mindset.co.za. And we'll see you now after the break. Hi guys, and welcome back. We are moving into our last 15 minutes of the show, so please post those questions. It's very, very important. But before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that we have now posted the Learn Extra Presenter Top 15 on the page. So please find that album, go and have a look at the top 15 presenters, and what we need you guys to do is we need you to vote. So go and have a look at each picture. Each picture will have a little link to their YouTube profile where you can go and watch their audition, see what they were like, see if they were good in front of the camera, and what you need to do is like your top 10. Don't like any more than 10 because that's going to get difficult for voting. Vote for your top 10 just by clicking like on their picture in our album, Learn Extra Presenter Top 15. And if you are one of those lucky presenters that are in our top 15, please share and tag yourselves in those pictures. So now we've actually got 10 minutes left to the show, so I don't want to take any more time away from Tanya. Tanya, let's do this.
Awesome. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, so what I want to do, remember we read that big case study with lots of information you highlighted. We did the first question where we looked at reasons why she could have been retrenched. I want to go to the next part now, and just to jog your memory, and also remember I told you to think about this while we were gone. The question was, what social and economic factors face Sharon if she sets up a shop in the Durban CBD and if she sets up in Umhlanga? Now I want a little bit more space to do this with you. So what would she face in the CBD compared to setting it up in Umhlanga? So they tell us in the case study that there are issues. They give you the answer here, actually, guys. So again, read carefully. It's going to make all the difference here. So let's quickly list those challenges. So the first challenge in the CBD would be it's going to have higher crime. And remember, guys, these things are all associated with socioeconomic issues. So CBDs, towns, things like that will have higher crime purely based on the fact that people are desperate. They're trying to make money, things like that. So that's the first issue. They've got higher crime in the CBD. The second issue will be that there's higher unemployment. So higher unemployment. Now, before I go into Umhlanga, I want you to think about this locally. Even our CBD in Joburg, guys, we've got a lot of people coming up from rural areas, things like that, to Joburg to try and make a living, to try and make a little bit more. So we've got high unemployment, which will link to crimes and other socioeconomic issues. So with this section, keep socioeconomic issues in mind. And just to throw it in there, this is where corporate social investment comes in, because they can actually help these people. So do you see how it all links up, guys? So those were the challenges in the CBD. Let's look at why or what it would benefit if she goes into Umhlanga. So if she goes into Umhlanga, there would be a pool of people who, or a pool of affluent customers. Let me throw an E in there. Okay, I've completely misspelled that. So to make my life and your life go much quicker, a pool of richer people. And I'm going to abbreviate that. Please don't do that. And second one, the business itself is in a safer area. Now, look at the CBD. We've got unemployed people, we've got higher crime rates, and that's going to affect that part of it. You've got in Umhlanga, you've got richer people, I'm saying that in brackets, and also the businesses in the safe area, so you don't have to spend as much on security and things like that. But keep in mind, Umhlanga is also 20 minutes away from the CBD. So there's going to be time delays, transport delays, not much, but keep it in mind. I want to go back to that question just to make sure that we've looked at everything. So the question said, what are the socioeconomic factors? So we've looked at that. And if she sets up in CBD and in Umhlanga. So you guys should have a pretty good idea there. Now remember, these answers I'm giving you are suggestions. You can obviously think a bit further and just add in. Okay, but making sure obviously it's in line with the answer. Let's do C. Let's see what they're asking us. So C, what are the possible economic changes she faces in exporting her clothing, and how can she overcome them? So what are the challenges here, guys? So think about this logically. South Africa, local is lekker. We've got our own culture. As South Africans, we're actually very rich in what we do. So clothing, food, things like that, a lot of it is very South African. Now, if you take what we like, what we do overseas, for example, they've got a whole different culture. So the first challenge she will face is just simply looking at different cultures, their tastes, their attitudes, their behaviors. Imagine taking biltong overseas. We think it's yummy, they're going to be like, oh no. Now imagine trying to get that into a market.
Who doesn't like biltong? Seriously. If you don't like biltong, please post it on the page, but I'm convinced there's none of you guys out there.
So exactly, but that's very South African. Let's go somewhere else, and they'll be like, no. Okay.
Dried meat?
No.
Gross. Gross.
Another challenge she'll face would just be export costs. So she's got her clothing, and now she needs to export it. So remember, last year you looked at it, some tariffs, extra taxes, things like that. So she needs to keep in mind how much it's going to cost her to go over there, taxation-wise. And, well, let's quickly jot this down before I get too far ahead of myself. So C, what are the possible economic challenges? So I'm going to try and squeeze it in here. It could be expensive. Let me find my pen. Could be expensive. A second reason could be something as simple as a different target market. And this will include tastes. So another, easy way to remember this, think of the biltong issue. And the second part to this question, how can she overcome this issue? What issues? The issues of it being expensive, the issues of looking at different markets. Let's quickly do this here. So the second part, guys, of question C, it would actually just be easier for her to export, still staying with exporting, but to export to countries that surround South Africa. So surrounding South Africa. Now I want you at home to think about all the countries that surround us. Can you think of some, Indiana?
Uganda? How surrounding us
Surrounding,
where?
like touching our border.
Oh, like touching our border. Oh gosh, is Swaziland touching our, is Lesotho touching our border? I suppose they're inside, right?
Okay, well, let's go with that. It's still touching, right? So they can export to something
Mozambique.
local. Mozambique.
Mozambique.
There we go. It's a nice one. So what she can do is she can export to Mozambique. It's less traveling. Well, it's less cost because she has to transport it. Well, she has to transport it either way, but it'll be cheaper because it's not going to be expensive airlines or freighting, shipping, all those things. So she can simply make her life easier by not going local, but just a little bit over
Just
the
a little
border.
bit further. Just
Yeah.
a little bit further, over the border.
And think
Just over
about
the
this
border.
logically. All those countries like Lesotho and all those, we live close to each other, so we might have similar tastes. So that will also solve that issue. And I'm going to try and squeeze the last one in really quickly for you guys.
You can do it. You can
I
do it. I believe in you.
I believe in me too. Thank you. So how could technological factors influence the success of her business? Now, this is a nice, easy one. I'm not going to write this down for you because I know you're going to remember to write it down yourself. So how can technology help her business? E-commerce, for example, if she goes online, she's available 24/7, 365. So she no longer has to have business hours. She can put up a website, people can order, she can send, makes lots of money that way. It's also easier for consumers to get hold of her. And
And what the nice thing about e-commerce is you're actually meeting your clients or the people that be buying your stuff in the places where they're actually looking online.
so it's an easy
Yeah.
meeting place.
Yeah.
Well done.
Smart water.
Awesome, guys. I really enjoyed this. I'm going to hand you over to Indiana.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much, Mindsetters, for being with us at our first business studies show. We'll see you the same time, same place next week. Please check our Facebook page for our presenter search. Click like your top 10. Thank you so much, guys. Goodbye.